In the custom shop here, what we're kind of doing it, I guess, more or less the old school way. This is an eyelet board, much like the way amps were built in the 50s and 60s, but instead of a fiber structure, we're using a phenolic material because it doesn't warp, doesn't take in moisture like the old phenolic boards used to.
What does that do to the sound? Just kidding.
Well, actually it does have a little effect on the sound. The boards take in moisture, the amp starts to get a little bit noisy, like a lot of the old amps. So, but this one here, what we do, we design them, we cut these boards, we drill them by hand, we populate them by hand, and we wire them up by hand. And then this amp here, we got a couple little relay modules that we're going to put on there for some switching that we're going to do with a foot switch. But that's how we're doing it in the custom shop. Everything is hand wired point to point on an eyelet board.
Look at this.
Now to show you the crazy things that people want, look here at the front of this amplifier. It's an old TV front, but instead of being like a square, somebody decided that they wanted the shape of some kind of guitar or bass. I don't know what the hell it is. But if they want it, then we can do it.
It's not just a matter of you pick the wood, you pick the color. People can come up with...
If you want it shaped like a heart or a dragon's head, we can do it.
Yep. And that's the whole premise behind the custom amp shop. Even down to circuit-wise, we'll build you what you want. Not necessarily just what we have to offer. What do you want? You tell us. We say bring it on. We'll do it.
So somebody could say, I'm thinking something with an AC30 kind of tone, but just give me a touch of glass and a little... And you're basically designing circuits based off people's ideas?
Yep. From verbal descriptions. We try
That's
and
amazing.
what they're doing.
So that is truly about as custom as you can get.
Yep. Exactly. Custom all the way down to, you know, what speaker do you want? You want a Celestion in it, you want an Eminence in it, you want a standard Peavey speaker in it, you want a tone tubby, we'll do it.
So
What
give
do
me
you
an
want?
example. Do people like to say, hey, I want like a triple X, but this and that? Like take me through maybe something somebody has ordered.
You get that, but more so with the custom stuff, it's more along the vintage vibe.
Okay.
You know, where they'll say we want something that has a British tone, or a 50s American tone, or a 60s American tone. It's more along that lines. You don't get wild stuff. I'm sure we will. And that'll get more challenging to hit that if someone says I want an AC15 and a 6505 in one amp. It'll be a challenge, but bring it on. We're here to do it.
How busy do you guys stay?
Right now we're just starting to roll this out, so there haven't been a lot of orders yet, but you know, we're busy prototyping stuff, trying to plan ahead for what people are going to order so that we know we can do it and they're going to be happy with the end product they get.
They just came back from James Burton's show over in Shreveport, actually. Yesterday, right? It was your first day back? And I understand that was a very successful outing, and that's the way you get this stuff exposed. It's typically this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a few specialty shops that have it, but generally you expose it at these shows.
When you guys talked about this at Nashville NAMM, a lot of people freaked out. It's a pretty innovative thing you're doing with the website tied to this. Talk about that.
A lot of people freaked out, primarily our competitors that were charging ridiculous prices for their product, and they kind of know in their heart of hearts that we know about as much about building amplifiers as anybody breathing air. So naturally a lot of those people were not too happy of see us come into their very rarefied environment where they can sprinkle fairy dust on it and sell it for 3 times more than it should. But I mean, I'm not going to kid you, it does cost more to build a custom amplifier, especially if it's hand wired. But when I build an amplifier, we want to incorporate all the little tricks that we've learned over the years, not so much just for tonality, but when I sell an amplifier, I don't ever want to see it again. In other words, I don't want it to break down. So instead of using capacitors and resistors that we push to the limit, we are very, very, very conservative. If we need a 5 watt, we use a 10 watt. If we need a half watt, we use 1 watt. Like you can see here in this situation, all these are 1 watt resistors. We could have probably gotten by in most of these with half watts just fine. God knows some of the classic amplifiers didn't use 1 watt resistors. But again, the difference between 1 watt and half watts is very small, so we decided to go ahead and do this using premium caps wherever we, you know, metallized polyester caps or polypropylene caps in some cases, because we're talking about tone. The holy grail is the tone.